So, Torian and Torian. These are a couple of little things. So I'm going to move this out of the way because I don't need it. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to move that over to the corner. There. Okay, so. Torian and Torian. Now, the very first thing I want to say for this is that Torian, spelled, and this is a little bit low, so I want to raise it up a little if I can. No, I can't. That's what really definitely got this board. That it falls. So, okay, now, Torian and Torian. So, Torian, look at the difference in spelling, because the word sounds the same. But the difference in spelling also means the difference in meaning of the word, because those two. And those two different spice families sounding the same but spelled differently, relating to different things. So, Torian. So when in the Just Said Magic they talk about Torian as in time and everything, because obviously Torian is the thing that has time and time goes off. Both the actual time and then like on the clock or everything, digital or regular, and the ingredient. So Torian spelled Torien is time, but Torian spelled Taurin, if I can spell that. Let me spell that again. So Torian spelled this way is time, but Torian spelled Taurin refers to something else. And you want to know why it's incorrect for Torian spelled this way referring to time, because don't confuse them just because of the way they're spelled differently. So it's really important not to look at this as time, because this is spelled and it sounds and it looks like what? Exactly. The zodiac sign of Taurus. Exactly. Definitely, we really need to remember and think about astrology when we're deciding spice families, because it just does not make sense for Torian spelled Taurin is time, because the Taurus zodiac sign is time isn't really a word that I think about. Maybe speed, going slower, but that's just not what Taurus is about. So Torian refers to several different things, but the very big thing that the Torian spice refers to is that it affects the senses. And it also slows us down, so slowing or slow down in speed. Like, think it's a Taurus zodiac sign. And also affects our steadiness and stability. Because Taurus is a very steady, stable, it's earth, it's grounded and everything zodiac sign. So Torian spelled this way refers to all these different things based off of whatever else is added to the recipe. And sometimes it could affect the senses more, could affect the speed of how we slow down, or both. It just depends on how many Torian ingredients that we're using. Sometimes it could affect our stability and steadiness, it just depends. So that's what I want to say. So it's wrong. So when they're talking about Torian and they're talking about time, it's spelled Torien. That's time. But if they're talking about Torian and it's spelled Taurin, they're not referring to time. Okay? So that's what I want to really clarify. I didn't make it up. I think that the question that you should ask is, did I make up astrology? Did I invent the 12 signs? Did I invent the characteristics and traits? I did not invent that. That's one of the things that the invention I did not, come up with. So that's a really, really important thing to consider, before, if you have a spice family called Taurian, then you really need to think about that, before you just decide and you spell it this way. And it doesn't have to do with the Taurus zodiac sign. It has to do with something that doesn't relate to it. It's not logical. It doesn't make sense. And something that is not logical and doesn't make sense doesn't exist. Right, is not realistic. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. I definitely trained you very, very well, as I mentioned, people. And not just on COVID. And not just, the whole problem with Kim and face nuts, everything like that. I train you on other things. There's another thing that doesn't make sense and shouldn't exist. What is it? Exactly. Wonderful, yes. Wheeling them to any other public place besides anything doctor or anything medically related, particularly in the spring and summertime. Disease is spreading around in spring and summer, safe for the allergies and all those kind of immunities people have and everything. Yeah, exactly. So you are all wonderful at remembering those kind of things. Don't stray away from it. Be the light in the tunnel for the world. Okay? It's not that I disbelieve in this whole situation, but there has to be a certain amount of logic that was in the past attached to it, and this is it. So, let's see here. Now I'm going to grab a Kleenex from here, and I'm going to raise this, because you know what I made perfectly clear to you, okay? Because I was looking at a Quizlet. On, it's like someone made a Quizlet over the spice families, and they spelled Taurian, Taurin, and the definition was time, and they got it wrong. So remember, I mean, a lot of words differ in the way that they're spelled, and they sound the same, but they mean things different. And this is one of those words, okay? It's perfectly realistic to say that. Okay? So, now I'm going to, just leave that up here. So, now that we have done that, I will be having the Cancer Clubist and the people who will be reading the book. Actually, I'm going to be having those people who, I'm going to be having Cancer Clubist first of all. Okay, so Cancer Clubist, then I will have the Everlost people come in after that. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So you know the drill. All of you who are not in Cancer Clubist, you can go out the door, and that includes that. So all of you can do things, you can talk, socialize, and I will get things prepped and ready. Thank you so very, very much. Okay, wonderful. Okay, everybody. Now, I'm going to go grab one or two things, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've got what I needed. Okay, I'm going to set this up. Thank you very much for patiently waiting. Okay, now we're going to be getting into cancer as a child. Remember the last meeting, we had time to work on that really big project and we didn't get into any reading. We're going to start talking about cancer as a child today. Okay? So this is what we're going to be doing. I'm just going to move the board out of the way. Remember, in the dominant month of an astrological season, that's where we talk about the other sections and everything. So I'm going to get this, see if this is tight enough, and yes it is. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab a couple of little things here and set them up, and we're going to start. Now, let's see here. Now, Cancer as a child. Now, let's see here. So, we're going to actually begin. So what I want you to do, and I know what you're thinking, it's warm. It's starting to get hot in here, so I'm going to turn the fan on and get everything set up with that. Okay, I'm going to open the door. So, Cancer as a child. Now, wait just a second. So, Cancer as a child. So, we might, I don't know how far it will get. Maybe just a couple pages worth. So we're going to talk about the flavoring, just a little introduction to Cancer as a child, real quick. Now, remember, after we're done, I'm going to give you a little bit more work time on those things that you're doing for the project. So we're going to actually start here. So on page 19, turning to page 19. So it says children with their sun in Cancer are conceived during cuffing season. I don't know why they have cuffing season. I think that it should be coughing season. So they're talking about during the winter time, in the winter months, which would make a lot of sense for Cancer because they're all about, family and home and cuddling together and an emotional conflicts, and that's not really what I think of a whole lot associating with summer. So be it. The winter months when partners often lock down their relationships in order to have reliable companionship. Think of Capricorn, Aquarius, those kind of things. So, Cancer influenced babies. So, whether Cancer shows up in the sun, moon, rising, or another part of their natal charts or for security. So, first of all, Cancer is all about relationship, finding comfort in that. And also, you're all here for reasons because you have Cancer in some part of your chart, or you have none of it at all and you want to get educated about the flavor of a sign that you don't have because you kind of lack the lessons of that unique sign. Okay? You've all talked about what part of Cancer is in your natal chart already. I just want, so hands up whose Cancer is in there, who has the sun in Cancer, whose birthday is today, that we are planning to celebrate later. Okay, wonderful. No, not me, sorry. Okay, who has it in the moon? I wish I did, but I really, really like my moon sign. In the ascendant, 3 people. In the top planets, so that includes Mars, Venus, Mercury. Okay, middle planets, Jupiter and Saturn. Okay, and then lower planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Okay, what about the Lilith? Deeper, darker nature. Okay, North Node, or just a North Node. Okay, I'm pretty educated about those little, about everything, including the Lilith and the North Node and everything like that, and the Ascendant especially. So remember that the Ascendant is calculated based on the time. So, let's see. So they look for security. Cancer is all about security and comfort and all those kind of things. So, some find it in, emotional security. Some find it in family, others in friendships, and still others in the routine. As we talked about with, so I hope that, as we're going through, you're seeing the connection, the similarities from Taurus to Cancer, because they're very, very similar. Because Taurus is about security and the creature comforts and stability and all those kind of things with the routine and the family and living simply. Now the Taurus does that with its sensuality and its practical groundedness, when Cancer does that through its feeling and emotion. So, let's see here. So parents may find it hard to get away from these babies. They want to be next to you, following you around from room to room like cats. They don't want to try new things until they've actually tried them. They don't want to leave the house until they do want to, so they won't be pushed and urged to do that. Kind of the thing with Taurus, kind of stubborn and set in its own little way of what they need or want to do. Then it's hard to pull them away from what they're doing and talk them into getting on the bus again to come home. Cancel is attachment. So once that they find something that they just are stuck to and that they feel comfort, emotional comfort and loving security, then they stick to that. They're attached to that kind of thing. It's hard to get them away from that kind of thing. So, as it was talking about, so what they're doing and talk them on getting on the bus again to come home. So, so this is kind of personal. This is a little personal anecdote. So once, excuse me. So, once over Malaysian food. I don't know what type of food that is, but I had a friend tell me, almost as if she was confiding a stolen secret, I don't have boundaries because I am Chinese. I don't have boundaries because I am Chinese. It's very, very interesting. But not all of us who have poor boundaries can say that is because we are Chinese. So it's kind of making an excuse that you have boundaries, or you have poor boundaries, your boundaries are good, you wait because of another culture. Um, Again, it's a little bit random, and you'll see why. So, that's another thing with Cancer is boundaries. You know, having again that comfort zone and that security. So we say that we don't have boundaries because we are Spanish, because we are only children, because we are first generation immigrants. The author who wrote this book is an immigrant from somewhere in Asia, she's probably Chinese, and she, immigrated over here, um, because we're only children, um, or because we grow up without fathers. Um, so these are some reasons why we have poor boundaries, is because, we're children, children work and everything, and also other cultures and first generation. So we all have reasons to refer to when apologetically explaining why our boundaries are so poor. Often, these reasons are a nod to the patterns of homeland. So, probably how you were raised as a child, and what kind of environment, what kind of like rules that you had growing up, or restrictions that you had, or morals that you probably were raised on, those types of things. Um, so, a nod to the patterns of the homeland. It all goes back to that homeland. So if it was good, then that person turns out to be a good person. If it was bad, then. So the implication is always this, that boundaries are a profoundly Western experience and rooted in being an individual. So you'll really open, and you go like off, and when you travel the world, and on Aquarian like person, or your Cancer, Capricorn. So your astrology, and then how you work with that. So the key points are that boundaries are learned, not inherited, and we must force them into the biological ties for the good of all. So learn and not inherited. So learn and not inherited by heredity and those kind of things. Self-discipline for those kind of things. I'm going to be right back and grab something. Okay. Let's see. So boundaries are learned, not inherited. We must force them into our biological ties for the good of all. It's good to kind of balance boundaries and then not boundaries. We repeat the word boundaries like a mantra. We feel our boundaries becoming too rigid. We feel self-justified and having boundaries. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. That's what a lot of the world seems to revolve around. So, it's going to talk a little bit more about boundaries here. So, if a boundary is closing a door and knowing that it will remain closed, what happens if you live in a one-room apartment with your grandmother, aunt, and mother, and there is no doors closed? There's people who live in one room, houses and those kind of things, and there's no place to, be alone and have privacy. If boundaries are the ability to say no to the family's needs in order to discover your own, then what happens when it takes 3 generations working in tandem to buy a home? Remember, Cancer is very home and family oriented. What happens when your mother doesn't take your need to raise your child in your own way? Apart from her, seriously, because she has both your grandmother's self to raise you. And so it's ingrained in her that raising a child will take the whole village. That never occurred to her that you would try to do this incredibly difficult thing on your own in the first place. So, how about we talk about that?